Hi everybody, welcome to today's session. For those of you who don't recognise my voice, it's Ollie, and today we're going to be covering purchasing from requirements. So if you've got any questions whilst I'm going through any of this, do you want to pop onto the live YouTube chat where Steve will be available to answer any questions or answer any questions at the end of the session if needs be too. Okay, so if I just log in to Prima. Okay, so basically today in the session we're going to be covering first of all authorising your sales orders through to purchasing. So the requirements section we're going to be basically going through is items from sales, perhaps a stock order as well. So first of all if I go into a sales order, in fact I'll just create a new one. Give it a reference. And if I just throw a random line on, so what's that one I used before? KF25001. Okay, so first of all, what I wanted to show you was the buyer notes. So within each line in your sales order, there's buyer notes in there, which is basically a flag for whoever's doing the purchasing, or a reminder for yourself to, when you come to do your purchasing, whatever notes that are put into this sales line here will pull through to your requirements list. So for example, make sure you purchase it with VOW, spices, etc. Whether it be a special price, you need to make sure you tick it on the purchase order as well. So just some notes in here to basically a flag to you, whoever's doing the purchasing, as there's some sort of special requirement for this item on the requirements list. So for example, if we just put in example buyer notes, and you can see then when that comes through, save that. Then when you authorise your order, that's then when your item would go into the requirements list. So a scenario when your line wouldn't go to requirements would be if, for example, KF25001, there was stock in the system that could fulfil this order. So you had one in stock already. When you authorise that, that'll then automatically pull through the stock against the item, so that'll bypass your purchasing stage. If there's no stock available, that's then when you go to your buying list, you can do your purchasing, build your stock orders, whatever you need to do, and then you can allocate stock and do that. So if I just close out the order and go to POP and requirements, what I'm going to search for today is requested, so you can search on other statuses too, and then the source we'll just leave blank for now. There's also, if you need to as well, if you click on the coloured bar in all areas of Prima, you've got further search criteria. Say for example you need to purchase for a particular customer straight away. There's a required date, you want to make sure everything date required today or tomorrow or next week is all purchased today. Either way you can use the criteria. So if I just click search for all requested, and then you're going to pull through your requirements list. So I've put the generic requirements columns into places how we advise in Prima, so you can drag and drop your item code to be there, your purchase units to be over here. You can drag and drop it so it's in a different order, and when you do change it, what you can do, say now I'm happy with that, you right click, save settings, and then that's stored then for the next time my user comes into Prima into the requirements list. So we advise to have the cheaper column and the supplier first here. We advise those to, first of all, so you can see if there's a cheaper supplier, if there's an alternative that's cheaper. There's various different reasons behind these symbols on the cheaper column, which Steve will throw in an online help link now onto the live chat, which is just an explanation of each one. So what the stars mean, what does yes mean, what does pack mean. So after the session, if you want to click on that and have a read through, and you can find out what each symbol means in the cheaper column. Next in line is the supplier, so you can sort through your suppliers, see who's going from VOW, who's going from Antalis, Spices, etc. And what we also advise is when you're doing your stock checking, to do the stock check per supplier. So once you're happy with all your items in requirements, now you're happy with all the spices ones, no more are going to come from there. Highlight those, and then when you do your stock check, it's only going to stock check for spices. That way, if you highlighted everything in the list, you're going to be stock checking randomly. You're not going to know what this item's relating to. So if you highlighted everything in the list, it's going to pull through spices, VOW, etc. onto the stock check. But you're not actually going to know, well, here's the item, but it's not relating to the supplier. So we have put in an enhancement request, which is going to be likely in the next release or the release after that, where in the stock check here, you're going to have your item code, description, who's got stock of it, and who's currently selected as a supplier against that line as well. So for the meantime, we would advise doing a stock check per supplier rather than highlighting all lines and doing it that way. Just close out of there and just refresh that. Also, customer and stock code, all the information at first glance rather than having to scroll across and finding that out. The quantity requested and stock available, so you can see straight away, is the stock available for this item. So there's 6 on this sales order. I've only got 1 in stock. I can allocate part of that stock, or I need to put on a stock order to be able to fulfill the whole order, for example. Your purchase unit and your sales unit, so if those don't match, you're going to need to build a stock order rather than being able to purchase through that supplier. So we'll come on to that in a moment also. If I scroll to the right, you've got your purchase method, what delivery type it's going to be. The reference ID is relating to the sales order. And coming back onto the buyer notes, that's where the notes are pulled through to. So if in here you've got KIF 25001, make sure we've got a special price against this, make sure it goes through as it is at the moment. And then that way you can safeguard it then on your purchase order to make sure that price is fixed and it's not going to write back a different cost. Other notes such as make sure it's purchased through VOW, etc. Required date. So quite a lot of people don't know this, but the required date, that's what the colours in the grid relate to. So if you right click in the grid and go to grid colours, now the colours that are in your grid at the moment are going to highlight to you what's been missed in terms of what's gone past your required date and what's urgent, what needs to be purchased, so then you're not exceeding that required date. So any that are in white at the moment would be the lines that need to be purchased before the required date. So as it's just a test database, you can see there's loads of items that have been missed that would normally be purchased. So that's what the grid colours stand for. You can amend the colours if you need to, or you can just make it all one colour and then you can just sort by the required date as well. So there's a few options for that. Scrolling across, there's some more information as to the order, the stock and everything. So how much is outstanding, how much is allocated to the order, the stock on order currently, and the quantity on the order too. The receipt too, so where's it coming? Is it going to the customer directly on a direct order, or is it coming into stock, and what depot is that coming into? Again, you've got your delivery type there. Supplier account code, so that you can have next to the supplier on the left here, but we've put that to the right hand side in our example just because it's not really needed at first glance. Keep coming, date requested, so when that was authorised. Purchase and sales costs, so that can highlight what you've put on the sales order and what the cost is going to be from the supplier. So if it's an example, a special price, you can highlight that there. You can, if there's no notes in there, you can say, well, why is this? Speak with the salesperson and find that out. Van route, depot codes, customer account code. Again, you've got the customer all the way to the left. Reference type, so that's whether it's come from sales, whether it's a stock order, a replacement item from returns. And right at the very end, we've got 2 new columns. One's EDI count and one's auto purchase. So the EDI count is a new feature that'll, if you've put an order through to VOW, it's been rejected for whatever reason, maybe the item's discontinued or it's not correct. When that's been rejected, it'll come through to your requirements list with a notice on it saying EDI message of X, Y and Z, it's not been accepted for whatever reason. On the EDI account, that's going to say number 1 against it. So if you then go and purchase it again and it gets rejected for a second time, that's just basically keeping an account and saying you tried purchasing this twice. Now look at the notes and find out what's gone wrong with it, and query it with the supplier or whatever the item is on your system. Auto purchase. I won't go into too much detail with that today because we'll probably need a separate session on that, but we are putting together an online help guide of how to set it up, what it does, and all information around that. But in a nutshell, the facility is set up in the admin. Depending on the criteria that you've set within the administration, the EDC will look at your requirements list, see there's 5 lines auto purchase ticked as yes. Perhaps you've got it set up so any vow lines that have got it yes will automatically be put through straight away. The EDC will then look at that according to your criteria, build your purchase order, and send that automatically then through the link as well. So like I said, we'll put an online help guide together for that, so I think that's in the process now, so it's likely to be the end of today or the early next week. So if you're interested in that, just have a look on the online help or give us a shout and we can send that over to you as well. If I scroll back to the left, other things in requirements. So if we double click into the requirement, you've got some more information in here. So if this item I've clicked on now had another supplier available, the suppliers would show underneath this column here. So if, say for example, Spices and Talis, etc. are showing in this list, I can then double click the supplier, which will automatically populate the requirement and adjust the requirement according to what you've just double clicked. Same again with the alternatives. If you wanted to change the alternative to something else, you can double click on that. That'll update your requirement, and then you can purchase the alternative instead. You've got further information within your requirement as well. So where it's come from sales. So that's the sales order. When it was requested, when it's required, and some more information within here as well. So if the item's not been made as a stock product yet, this button here would not be greyed out, so you'd be able to create that product from within your requirements list as well. Your links, so that's everything that this item is linked to. So if we click in the links, so this is in all areas of Prima as well, you can see it's come from sales order 41447. You can double click into that and find out some more information about it. You can also in the links go to some basic reporting about that particular product, so the sales and purchase information for it, and you can also go to the product record as well to make any changes if you need to too. Also within your requirement, what you've got are these arrows. So they're not used too much by users, which we do advise to use. So if you've got 40 records in your requirements, rather than closing out, going into the next one in your list and making changes, you can just quickly flick between the requirements. It'll go into the next in the list. You can go to the very end of your list, for example. You can use your alt and down there. You can see when you hover over it, your keys on your keyboard, and you can make changes to your requirements quicker than clicking in and clicking out, basically. Another query that's normally raised quite often with support is when the purchase unit and the sales unit don't match. So have we got any examples on this requirements list? We've not, but if, for example, this line here, the purchase unit is a pack of 10, but you're selling it as an each to the customer, so when you try and purchase that item, it's not going to allow you because of the pack size difference. Other reasons that would prevent you from purchasing an item from requirements could be if there's no supplier against the line. So you can see here at the bottom, there's some lines that haven't got a supplier assigned against them, so you need to go into their setup within the product to be able to purchase with a particular supplier. Whether the item's been discontinued, you're not going to be able to purchase the item, or the main one is normally the pack sizes. So it's quite often the one that quite gets logged frequently with support is the pack sizes one. So to get around having your split pack issues and not being able to purchase items, if we use this one as an example, if you're trying to sell it as a pack of each, but you can only purchase it as a pack of 50, you'd then create a stock order for that item, and then you'd be able to split it down once you've received the pack of 50. So to do that, you'd go to the new record, and then you'd build a new order. So if I just do it for Val, type in a reference, we'll just call it test. Okay, so go to your lines, put in your item code. So if you just use a different example, KF24001, enter into there, pull through the item, and then we want 1. So if we click save, and then when you purchase that now, so as it's a manual stock order, when you receipt it in, you're going to be able to then split it down in there too. You can tick it a special purchase, so that was what I was talking about before with if you've got a special price on your sales order, when you then purchase it from requirements, that's where you tick it against the line as well. So once you're happy with the order, you'd purchase it. Then when it comes in the next day, you'd build your receipt note, confirm it into stock, and then when you've got your stock in the system, you can go back to your requirements list. Your stock available will show as I've got 50, and then you can allocate then accordingly to that split pack. Another way of doing a stock order, new record, and build a new requirement. So it's similar to doing the purchase orders. You can just enter in your code there, type in the information as to how many are required, date required, etc. Create the requirement, and then as you would in your requirements list, and then once you're happy with it, you can highlight the line in your requirements list. Which one was it now? So you can scroll across as well and find out the source. So reference type, so it's stock. So we've created a few of these test ones, so it's either of those. You'd highlight your line, click purchase, and then that'll then build your purchase order as well. So there's a couple ways to raise your stock orders. Either way, it does the same job. So you can do either of those. Other areas to do so, we covered the stock checking. So just to cover that again in the example I used before, if we highlight a VOW, a UFP, and a spices, when we click stock check on there, okay, the test database hasn't got it set up, but basically what would happen, all your items would pull through. Your suppliers would be listed here, so VOW, spices, UFP. And then when you do your stock checking, you'll find out the quantities here, but there's no way of actually finding out the supplier against it. So that's why we'd advise to do it per supplier as well. Okay. So if, for example, you're happy with all your VOW items in the list, you can highlight all of those, or hold control on your keyboard, and you can click other suppliers and random lines, and then you can click purchase. If there was stock against the item, you can highlight those with stock, hit allocate, and then that'll allocate the stock to that order. Then that'll pull through to be ready to put onto a dispatch note. Stock reordering, we won't go into too much detail with that. It'll probably need a separate session on its own with stock products, but we'll send an online help link onto the live chat for that one. Basically, the stock reordering, within a product record, you can set up reorder levels. So say, for example, this item here, every time this item gets to 5 in stock, we want to set a trigger, so then a requirement will be built, so we can make sure that more items are then purchased. So the stock reordering list, if I just click on that. Okay, so if there was any items on here as an example, you'd highlight your stock requirements, or if there was no supplier against the item that you've set a reorder level against, you can then purchase it from here and make any changes where necessary as well. So the stock reordering is just a stock order, but it'll automatically generate that for you rather than having to check your levels and finding out what needs to be purchased. It's an automated process, so then you can purchase your items quickly and freely. Okay, and I think that's pretty much it. So if we just go through perhaps purchasing, you can allocate from future stock as well. So if, say for example, you've got a stock order on there, you want to allocate that from the stock that's going to be coming in, you can do that too. Request from main depot. So if you've got multiple depots, you can request it from your secondary depot, your other depot, whatever you want to call it. Also, if you highlight the lines, click purchase, and then you've got your options within here as well. So whether you want it to be EDI, whether you want to consolidate all the direct deliveries to the same address, and van routes as well if you use those, so your own deliveries and stuff, and you can set those up as well. But yeah, that's pretty much everything for today's session, covering the requirements list. If you do have any questions, you want to go through anything, please hop onto the live chat, and myself and Steve will hang around for a bit and answer any questions that you raise. Also, for next week's webinar, we've not got any topics down yet, so if you have got any suggestions, they're more than welcome. We'll throw those onto the Twitter poll where you can all vote as well. So we'll put that on probably in the next half an hour to put the next week's webinar on there. And yeah, that's pretty much everything. So thank you for your time today. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you all next week.